When it comes to the topic of horror in anime, I am very limited in that area of knowledge. I mean, if you count Demon Slayer as a horror, I guess I've seen a lot of horror in that genre. But then, I've watched other bits of it. Like, I've seen the whole show of Another, which is an amazing show. If you haven't seen Another, check it out. It's a whole classroom thing of who's dead or not. It's really good. But I'm talking about straight up ghost stories that have to deal with death, with murder, with people disappearing, with things like that. And there is one thing that comes to mind, and that is the mangaka artist Junji Ito. Junji Ito is seriously one of the coolest mangaka I've ever, researched. Apparently, he was a dentist for 3 years, and in his pastime, he liked to doodle little horror drawings. And after doing that for 3 years, he's like, man, I really prefer this over dentistry. So now his life as a mangaka is just plain drawing, which is awesome. And I wasn't thinking about doing a video like this until just barely when one of my favorite YouTubers, Meat Canyon, on his channel Papa Meat, he did a review of Junji Ito Maniac Tales of Macabre, which is on Netflix. And I honestly gave that a shot when it first came out, which I didn't think was good. But after seeing Meat Canyon's video of it, I decided to give it another try, and I actually thought it wasn't that bad. So what I'm doing is that I'm gonna be reviewing my top 5 favorite videos of this, along with any runners-up we have, but these are gonna be my top 5 favorite videos from Junji Ito Maniac Tales of Macabre on Netflix. Anyway guys, let's get right to it. Taking the number 5 spot in this list is Hanging Balloons, which I think out of this show is definitely one of the strongest, but there are others that are stronger, but I do really like this one. This one is creepy, it's intense, it's fun to watch. It's just a good collection of horror and a good storytelling. Anyway, the beginning of the show opens up with this little girl. She's just in the corner of her room. She has this terrified look on her face, and you hear this tapping on her window, calling her by name and telling her to open up, and you're like, it already sucks you into it. It's like, okay, what just happened? Why is the story already like this? What's going on? And then we get the title card, which is 6 weeks earlier, and the story just is kind of like a flashback. It works its way backwards, but the whole story itself just works. So story-wise, this is 1 month earlier before we get to the girl in the bedroom with the tapping on the window. And what is happening is this celebrity has been found outside her apartment building hanging from telephone wires. She apparently hung herself. And this turns out to be one of the main character's best friends from school. So once we hear that, we get to this shrine funeral ceremony thing. And then after the ceremony, we get our main character and her 2 other friends talking about what happened. And then we get the shot of all these boys just ganging up on this one kid and telling him, hey, you're this one celebrity's boyfriend. You're telling her that she wasn't good enough to go into the career that she was trying to get into. What were you thinking? Why are you such an asshole? And this main character girl's like, get away from him! And they try comforting the boy, and they're like, what they're saying isn't true, you didn't do anything wrong, things like that. And the boy's just like, yeah, they do have a little bit of truth of what they're saying. And then he just walks away. And then we get the scene where the main girl, she gets a phone call from the boy that he's gonna explain everything to her, what's going on, things like that. And then there's apparently, like, this is 2 months or like a week earlier than the month before the main part of the story where it opened up. And there's been sightings of the celebrity's ghost, like, hanging over town. It's just like these people saying they've just seen her head, only her head. And people are talking about that. It's like, where was the rest of her body then? Why haven't anybody seen her head? And then we get the scene where the main character, she gets the phone call from the boy to go meet him so they can discuss what he was talking to the celebrity about before she actually did the action that causes this whole, like, stir of what's happening in the city with people seeing their ghosts. And we see the boy in the tree, and the main character is like, what are you doing in the tree? Get down from there! You're gonna get hurt! And what's creepy is that we see the ghost of the, well, not the ghost, the balloon head of the celebrity that hung herself. She comes out of the trees, and the boy's like, I just want to be with you again. And a balloon of his own head with a noose hanging below it comes out of the tree. And the boy ends up getting hung. And we get this scene of, like, the two balloons kissing, and the boy that's hung is, like, just ragdolling it. But it's still creepy. It gives us really creepy art to it. And the girl, the main character, just screams the whole time. It sets up for the main premise of what's gonna happen. It's very creepy. So the next day, the main girl is hanging out with two of her friends again, and they're just trying to comfort her. They're saying, like, you must have been seeing things. Something like that doesn't happen. Balloons don't hang people. And one of them points up into the sky, like, hey, what's that? And there are these 3 balloons of the girls' faces, and they all run away, and it ends up, like, capturing 2 of the girls. They float away, and the main character and another girl, they hide in an alley, but the balloons follow them. And, you know, it's like all intense. They're preparing to die, and they're just screaming. And this one man, he opens his window, and he's like, hey, what's all the commotion out there? And one of the main characters is like, over there, the balloons, they're gonna get us! And honestly, I was kind of thinking at this point, it's like, the balloons only, like, choose who can see them, what their targets are. Like, the specified targets of who the balloon is, that person would be the only one to see them. But apparently everyone can see them, because the man, he sees the balloons heading for the 2 girls, and he's like, alright, stay where you are! And he goes back in the house, and 2 seconds later, he comes out with a crossbow? It's like, who has a crossbow in their house? Anyway, he shoots one of the balloons, and he punctures it. The balloon starts to deflate, and the main character is like, alright, we're safe! And she turns to her friend, and it's a really cool animated scene. Like, her friend's face deflates. Like, it looks like it de-ages, her eyes pop out of her head, and it's crazy how well it's animated, how well the deflation of her human face is. It was creepy though, really creepy. We then get the title card 5 days later, and the scene opens up with all these balloons in the air with thousands of people hanging from them. And, we get this scene where this reporter is talking about what he's seen, and honestly, I love this scene, because he's like, at one point he's like, that one looks like me. That is my own head. It's coming down towards me with a rope below it, and then he goes off, like, He's talking about seeing himself die. He's narrating his own death. To me, I thought that was hilarious.
No, that one looks like me. That's my own head, and it's heading this way. There's a rope coming down towards me. Oh!
Anyway, other reporters are like, do not attempt to go outside. There's balloons everywhere. Odds are your head is among them. You'll be hung as well. Do not try to fight against them. Any puncture of these balloons will result in your own death. Things like that. And the main character's family is watching the whole thing. And the dad is like, this is just a big hoax or anything. It's gonna stop soon. Well, gotta go to work. And his entire family's like, Dad, you're insane! There are thousands of people hanging out in the sky. You don't have to go to work. And odds are, like, the entire company's dead already. And the dad's just like, oh, I gotta go. There's a lot of paperwork that had to be done today. I gotta go. Make sure you have dinner ready for me. And he leaves, and he's kind of clever about it. I mean, he does cover his neck with his hands, but his balloon comes and just wraps around his torso, and he gets lifted in the air, and he's hung by his torso. That's the end of the dad. So it's a couple days after the dad is hung, the brother's like, we're starving to death. We're not gonna last much longer if we don't get any food soon. So the mother and the main character are like, no, you can't. It's too dangerous. And the brother gets an umbrella and he's like, don't worry. If any one of these balloons come close to me, I'm gonna hit it. And in my mind, I'm like, you idiot! You just saw on the news that if you puncture the balloon, you're gonna die. So the brother goes out anyway, and we see his balloon come after him, but instead of puncturing it, he just throws it and it gets into the noose, and the balloon floats away, and the brother runs down the street, and you just see the mother and the daughter looking out the window, and they're just like, good luck. And that's the last we see of the brother for almost the rest of the story. Almost. So the very next scene we get is probably the saddest of the whole show. I mean, it's just this mother of the family. She doesn't say anything. She just gets up from the couch, opens the sliding glass window, and the main character's like, what are you doing? And the mother doesn't respond. She just steps outside, and we get this, like, not a head view of anything, but she just gets lifted into the air, implying that her balloon got her. It's sad because the mother just abandoned the daughter and she gave up, leaving the daughter to fend for herself, which is kind of a bitchy move, honestly. So we are back to present times, and we're back to the scene where the main character is in the corner of the room. She's all by herself now, the only remaining member of the family. We got the tapping on the window, and these voices saying, come on out, you're gonna starve, you're the only one left. And the main character is just ignoring all this, and then eventually we hear the brother's voice. And you know it's a trick. You know the whole thing's a trick. The brother's like, yeah, I'm sorry it took me so long. How are mother and father? Are they doing well? And the daughter, she's a complete idiot, and she opens up the blinds, and we see that the balloon of the brother got to the brother. He's been hung, similar to the father, hung by the torso, because the umbrella is taking up the neck space of the noose. And I think just the sister herself's given up at this point. Everyone's dead. And so she just opens up her window, and we hear her own voice say, thank you for opening up the window. And her balloon head, as she floats in front of the window, and a noose is hung down. And the way it's angled, the loop of the noose fits perfectly over, like, in front of the main character's head. So, you know it's gonna end with her getting hung, implying that she's hung. But this episode was crazy. It's like an end of days episode if people were to be hung by their own self-image. It's crazy though. This definitely made the list in top 5. I loved it. It was just fun to watch. Definitely number 5. For number 4, we got a really fun one. It deals a lot with psychological part, I think, but it's still really fun to watch. This one is called Layers of Terror. And the way that it opens up is you got these people on this archaeological dig, and this one man, he is digging in this one pit, and he says that he found something interesting along the side of the wall. And we see that it's like this outline of this human, except it's been like traced over again and again, and each time it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And the archaeologists at the dig are like, huh, this tomb seems to be easily compared to one of those Russian dolls where, you know, you open up the big shell and another one is there, and you open that up and another one is there, and they tell the guy to dig deeper, see if he can find anything, and he ends up unearthing a skull, which is creepy because you know it's gonna add up to something big. And he's like, hey look, I found a skull. And then it starts raining, and they're all like, what? The weather wasn't supposed to rain today. And then it takes a time loop thing back to like present day, because the archaeological dig was like 20 years earlier. But I thought it was a great way to open it. So the next scene we get is we have this mother with her 2 daughters. They're traveling on the road with this car heading back from a funeral or a viewing or whatever. And one of the daughters, the mother's like, I can't believe you were brave enough to come see the viewing this time. Usually you would cower in fear alongside with me. And the daughter's like, I'm all grown up now, Mom. I don't need you to fret over me anymore like you used to. And apparently, like, she used to be like this big superstar, like very famous, like she would be in like commercials and things like that. And the older daughter who's driving the car is like, yeah, no one just can say that you weren't spoiled growing up. All the money went to you. Acting lessons, dancing lessons, braces, anything like that. It all went to you. We weren't worthy. Well, we weren't wealthy. So it's not like I had any money coming to me to help me. I still have crooked teeth from never getting braces. And the mother in this is a complete psycho. Like, she's a complete psycho bitch. Definition. If you look up psycho bitch in the dictionary, and her picture would be right there. Because she's like, oh yeah, I mean, we couldn't have this perfect daughter performing with crooked teeth or an ugly face. Not that that matters to you though, because you're ugly and you have no talent. And I don't blame the daughter at all. She's like, what did you just say? And she turns around to face the mother, but her sister's like, look out! And she puts her eyes back on the road, and there's a truck heading straight for them. So the sister swerves out of the way off of the road, and once they finally come to a stop, she's like, are you guys okay? And she looks in the back seat. The mother's just unconscious, but you see the younger sister, it's actually kind of really creepy, because there's this yield sign that's smashed through the window of the car, and half of her face is hanging off of the yield sign. Like, you see part of the nose and her whole left eye is hanging off of the sign. It's very creepy. So, but the next scene we get, they're at the hospital, and the mother's like, "This is all your fault. Why was I cursed to have you as a child?" And then the doctor calls them in, and the mother's being totally dramatic. She's like, "Tell me, doctor, tell me the awfulness of it. How bad is it? Is she gonna live?" And the doctor's like, "This is a really curious case. I mean, it looks like your daughter has another face under her face." And the doctor shows them x-rays, and in her x-rays are all just layers and layers of skin that the younger daughter has. And this just like kind of makes the mother crack, I guess? I guess from like the stress of the accident and what the younger daughter went through was like already starting to push it. But after seeing she has layers and layers of skin, that's what finally made her crack. It's really creepy. So the older daughter and the mother are sitting in the courtyard of the church, or not church, hospital, and the daughter's like, "This isn't a blessing, mother. This is a curse. Remember when Dad went on that dig and he brought back that skull? He was so different." We get that flashback of him on the dig, and he apparently now, when he got back from the dig, he was all like super creepy. Like in the flashback, we get this scene of him just sitting in the dark in his office, and he's just grinning while looking at the skull. And then we get back to the mother and daughter, and the daughter's like, "I thought I was the only one that was cursed." And she opens up her mouth, and it's like a gray white. She has these like 16 layers of teeth, top and bottom. It's really creepy, but really, really well drawn. And man, it's a scene to remember. So, it's a couple days later, and they're able to take the younger sister back home. She still has part of her face in a bandage. But actually, no, it's just like, it's half old face and half a younger face. And, like, the mother, she's still trying to baby her. And eventually the younger daughter's like, "Will you stop? I'm not a little baby anymore. I don't need you to care about me like you did. I can take care of myself. Leave me alone. It's your fault we crashed. It's your fault I look like this." And the mother is just shocked, and she leaves the room, and I don't remember like the older sister saying anything, but I think though, if I was her, I'd be like, "Way to go, sis. She needed to hear that. She's a bitch." Anyway, it's now nighttime. The younger sister is asleep. And we get the mother, she's like over the daughter's body. And she's like, "Oh, why are you acting like this? Where did I go wrong? Where's that sweet 2-year-old I always knew and loved?" And before she leaves, we hear a 2-year-old's voice just saying, "Mama." And the mother goes back to the body. She's like, "I'm here, darling. I'm here." And the 2-year-old's voice is like, "Mama, I'm scared. It's so dark. Where are you?" And the mother is complete psycho right now. And as she realizes that she can slip her... Oh, it's kind of gross. She can slip her finger under the old slab of skin. And so she pulls on it, and it makes a gross sound too. It's like, ugh, I don't know, I don't want to describe it. It's pretty gross though. Anyway, once she's doing that, the younger sister screams, and the older sister goes to her room to see what's wrong, why she screamed. And we see the mother with a peeled back part of the face with a knife. And the older daughter's like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And the mom's like, "Hurry, while the bad one's passed out. We can get to the 2-year-old and have her be her beautiful self. So kind." And so, I don't know why the older sister goes along with it, doesn't try to stop the mother or anything, but they peel back the face until they actually get to the 2-year-old, and the mother's like, "Wait, where's the rest of her?" And so it's like a 2-year-old head on a 16-year-old body. So they start tearing away the body until we get this really creepy scene of like all this skin everywhere and kind of this mummified looking body. And so the mother, like, she accepts that it is the curse. And she goes to the desk, gets a box cutter, and she stabs it into her face. And she's like, "I'm gonna go back to when I was 37 and have her again. And she's gonna be my beautiful little angel. Here I go." And she rips off her face. And, the drawing to this is so accurate, too. Like, the muscle and tissue. It's like kind of the mother gets what's coming to her because she doesn't have another layer underneath her. She ends up screaming, and the video ends with the older daughter. She goes into the room with a tray of food. The mother is on the side of the wall just in a huddle with her face all bandaged up. And then in the corner of the room, we got the creepy 2-year-old face mummy thing. She's like, "Mama, hide now." And so we're left with the older daughter having to take care of a severely injured mother and a weird, morbid, creature-like thing now that was her younger sister. It's a great psychological horror that I thought was really fun to watch that definitely deserved a spot on this list. So, that's why it takes number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Intruder. And Intruder, it's definitely not the strongest one in this series, but for me, it definitely left an impact. Probably because it was only like 15 minutes long. It wasn't so strong as others. But it definitely is one that makes you think. Like, it's all about like time dimensions and like time loops, things like that. It's creepy. But I feel like if they could put like a good half hour into this story, it would have been a lot more liked than it was. I know like Meat Canyon hated it. He wanted it to be so much longer, that's why he hated it. But for what it was, I thought it was pretty good. The opening of this is really good starting to it. What happens is we have the main character, he's outside his house, and he's burying this body, and we get a closer look into what body he is burying, and he says, "Sorry, I imagine that hurt." And it shows the face, his own face, like he's burying his own body, which itself is creepy. Like what's going on here is going on in your mind. And then the eyes of the body that he's burying, they open up, and then we get the title card. The whole opening is really creepy, and it's just something I thought was really creative and really fun. So after the title card, we have our main character, Oshikiri. He's in the library, he's looking at different books, and we have these different students. They're saying like, they think Oshikiri is so weird because he hangs out by himself all the time. And this girl's like, "Hey, be nice to him, I think he's kind of cute." And After that, we get Oshikiri. He pulls out this one book from the shelf. He goes to this table and starts reading it. And then we cut to the scene where we're still in the library. We're with this group of 4 kids, and they're talking about... they're into the supernatural. Like, they're talking about time loops, alternate realities, things like that. And one of the guys was like, oh yeah, I know there's a book that's all about this stuff, like the Bermuda Triangle, time loops, time travel, everything that we're talking about. There's a book in here all about that. And so, it's kind of funny, because they go walking by the table where Oshikiri is, and the kid's like, oh, here's the book right here! And he starts going through the book as Oshikiri's holding it, and Oshikiri just has this look on his face like, what are you doing? I'm the one holding the book right now. And the kid's like, oh, sorry, I got too caught up there, didn't I? And anyway, like, they all introduce each other. They are like, oh, so you're into, like, paranormal activity and things like that too, right? And Oshikiri's like, yeah, I guess so. And I guess the leader of the group's like, alright, it's settled. You're one of us. Let's go hang out. So, the next scene we got, these kids are hanging out in, like, this 90s style burger bar. And, the leader of the group's like, what? What did you just say? And Oshikiri's like, sometimes when I'm home alone, I hear footsteps and stuff. And, the leader's like, do you think we can go to your house and see if those sounds can be made? I mean, maybe it can be an alternate reality, something like that. And all the other kids in the group are like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome, that'll be great, I'm totally in. And Oshikiri, he doesn't want to be the lame part of the group, so he's like, sure, let's go for it. So, we get to Oshikiri's house, and his house is really cool. It's like a castle in Germany. That's what it looks like. It looks like a castle design to it. Apparently Oshikiri lives there alone. And they start hearing the footsteps again, so they start looking all around the house. And they can't find anything until eventually one of the members of the group says that she thinks she saw something, and she's leading them through the house. And then Oshikiri sees someone outside his window, and he opens up the windows like, hey, get off my property, who are you? And it's another Oshikiri. And this one, he just like points to Oshikiri and laughs, and he does like this Thanos snap thing where he just disintegrates, and the leader of the group's like, he's probably from an Oshikiri from an alternate reality. That's so cool, he traveled here, let's go see what he was doing. So, they all go outside to where the Oshikiri clone was burying something, and it turns out this clone was burying an alternate version of the leader of the group from Oshikiri's timeline. And, so the leader of the group in this timeline's like, so, I don't believe you could do anything like this, Oshikiri. It was totally your clone. Your clone in his timeline seemed to be a serial killer, but there's nothing you're gonna do about that. And, the girl of the group's like, look, there's more lumps over here. And it turns out, once they uncover it, it's every member of the group, they're skeletons, and they're all creeped out at this point. And you think, like, at this point, they're gonna, like, abandon Oshikiri. But no, the leader decides to stick with him. He says there's no way Oshikiri could do this. It was all his doppelganger's fault. And they decide to just give the bodies a proper burial by making the graves deeper and burying the bodies deeper, just so Oshikiri won't get in trouble if someone comes along snooping. But it ends with Oshikiri's doppelganger just sitting on a bed, and that's it. So I feel like this one felt definitely rushed. If you bring in the story of like time travel or alternate dimensions, you gotta make it more time, give it more time than just 14, 15 minutes. I feel like a good hour, half hour, that would be perfect for Intruder. But I still feel like this leaves a good impact if you like stuff about horror, alternate reality, time travel like stuff. You're gonna like Intruder. I know I did. Number 2 of this was just a really fun watch. It was Ice Cream Bus, and the opening to this was just really fun. Like, you get this ice cream song playing, and there's this man handing out ice cream to the kids, and the kids' mothers are like, they're smitten. Like, they're blushing, their eyes are like wide open, like, oh my god, this dude is so hot! And, I mean, he is an attractive guy for being in anime. I mean, he's got white hair, he's got golden eyes, he looks like he's in his 30s. But yeah, it's a fun story, Ice Cream Bus. That's why it takes number 2. So the story really only revolves around like 2 people, which are a divorced dad and his son. So the dad and his son are outside, and the dad asks the ladies, hey, what's going on here? And the ladies, they just like don't even answer the question. They're just like, oh, this nice man gives our kid ice cream. Isn't he so hot? I just want to do him real bad. And that's basically their answer, basically in a nutshell. They just ignore it, what the question was. But the ice cream man shows up, comes over, and he's like, but in response to your question, I give these kids ice cream and let them ride on my ice cream bus. I usually just take a quick drive around the city, about 20 minutes, then I drop them off back here. What's the kids something to do on Saturday? And the son's like, hey Dad, I want some ice cream too! And the dad's like, no, it's close to dinner time. Come on. And so so now it's like around nighttime, and the kid's like, I wanted ice cream too! And the dad's like, you're really still bothered by that? Come on and eat your dinner. And this is why I don't like kids, because kid's being a freaking brat at this time. He's like, I wanted ice cream and you were mean! Whatever you cook tastes like shit! And he's just says, I want to live with mom now! And the dad, like, he doesn't do anything about the kid throwing a tantrum. He just thinks about what the kid said, that he wants to live with his ex-wife instead of him. And the next scene, like, it's the next Saturday, and they go to get ice cream. Because, like, the dad wants to make the son happy because he wants the son to want to live with him. And so he gets the son a chocolate ice cream, and then he says he can let the son ride on the bus. And so the next scene we get, the kid gets home, and he tells the dad that something really weird. Like, there was a giant puddle of pink ice cream that was strawberry in the back of the bus that they licked. And he had his ice cream as well that the dad bought him. And the dad's like, he has to be more careful in taking care of his son. So, you know, at this point, there's something weird going on. So, as the story goes on, nothing really strange out of the ordinary happens. Like, the dad comes home from work at one point where all these shoes are at the door of the apartment, and the dad goes into the living room where all these kids and his son are playing, and the dad's just like, guess he made some friends on the bus. And the next Saturday, he gets his kid another ice cream cone, and this is when things start getting strange, because the ice cream man just stares at the dad the whole time. And the dad's son gets on the bus ride, and the dad's like, excuse me, I would actually like to ride the bus, if that's okay. And the ice cream man's just like, oh no, I'm sorry. This bus ride's only for kids, no adults allowed. And the dad's like, oh, okay, I understand. Rules are rules. Alright, carry on. And as the dad's heading to the apartment, he glances inside the bus where he sees the kids and his son licking all these different globs of different colored ice cream. And the look on his dad's face is like of shock and horror. And this is when it's getting close to like the climax, because this is only a 15-minute episode. I wish it was a lot longer because it's creepy. But yeah, we're getting close to the end to actually what is going on, but things are getting creepy in the episode. So after some time passes, like days I'm guessing, like weird stuff starts to happen. Like the man is walking through his apartment, he notices a big pink glob of something, and on his kids' blocks there's just like this sticky pink stuff, and there's this part that's super creepy, because it's like the next day, and he comes home, and there's all the kids' shoes at the doors again, and he calls for his son, and there's like no response, so he asks, are your friends here again? It's awfully quiet if they are. And he walks into the apartment, and we get the most grotesque, creepiest scene for an anime. Like, it's all these different colored piles of ice cream, except one is like a kid who's still turning into ice cream. Like, he's dripping and stuff, but he still has his human form. It is really gross if you think about it. But the dad's son is licking this puddle. He's saying like, all my friends turned into ice cream. We got pistachio, vanilla, chocolate, frozen yogurt! And he continues to start licking at more of the ice cream. And the dad's like, stop! Don't lick that! And he ends up killing his kid by accident. By grabbing his kid, he ends up like decapitating him basically. Like the kid was turning into ice cream himself, and the dad just screams in horror. And the last shot we get is the driver and with the ice cream song playing. And then the creepy part is the ice cream bus starts singing along with the song, and one of the headlights, it blinks. And I thought it was kind of a cute nod, is that it breaks the fourth wall, and one of the bus's headlight eyes, it looks at the camera. And it was a cool way to end it. I'm like, I kind of wish it went in more description. Like, could that ice cream man have been like a hostage, and the bus was a demon of some kind? Or could the ice cream man have been the devil, and the ice cream bus was like his chariot, and he had came onto the earth to kill these kids? There's so many possibilities in this episode in what demons, anything could have happened in this episode. That's why I think number 2. I think it's definitely the second strongest in Junji Ito Maniac on Netflix. Second. Alright, number 1. My favorite of this Netflix show. No questions asked. Number 1 would be Headless Statue. This is just crazy. It opens up at a high school or college, and this one lady is walking into this art room where she's supposed to meet with this one boy where they're gonna walk home together. and the boy says he wants to stay with the professor. The professor, like, has this art show going on, and it's a really creepy presence in the room, because it's just filled with these headless statues, and the professor says that he likes making statues without faces or heads, because once you make a statue with a face, that's what a person's gonna perceive the statue as. But if you have no head or face to the statue, it's infinite possibilities. He says one day he's gonna make a statue with a head, but not quite yet. Anyway, the girl says that she won't tell the boy's parents that he's staying late and she'll see him tomorrow. And that's the end of the day. So the next day, the girl's heading onto campus, and there's all these like ambulance and firefighters and other students outside this one building, and she asks what's going on, and other students are like, "Didn't you hear? The art teacher was murdered last night, and the creepiest part is, he was found missing his head." And everyone is like super freaked out by that. No one could understand who could have gone inside the campus, killed the teacher. Just like it's a complete mystery. But inside this girl student's head, she's like, "Oh, that boy that I was supposed to go home with, he said he was gonna help the art teacher last night. Could he be a murderer?" And so the next scene we get is that she's going to the kid's house that was staying late with her professor, and he opens the door, and he looks really weird. Well, I wouldn't say weird. He's like really pale, like his eyes look lifeless, and he's wearing this mask. And the girl's like, "You're acting really weird, you know that?" And the boy's just like, "Yeah, I really act weird. I guess that it's natural when you're in love. I've always loved you." And he's just like, "Come on, I have something to show you." And apparently they end up walking back to the college where the professor was murdered. It's like, what I loved about this is that it seemed like a perfect slasher movie. I thought it was so fun to watch. So at this point, I was totally focused on it and what's gonna happen. If there's a killer, if there's not a killer, what the suspense point is. It's good so far. So, while this is going on, at the campus, these two girls are going back inside the room because one of them like left her school bag there and some supplies in the art room. So they go inside and they grab their stuff. And then they're like, "Hey, what? Why is this place so empty all of a sudden?" And then another door to the art room open. And this is the most terrifying thing of this episode. Because, like, it's the teacher's head. That's all you see. But it's, like, in this look of shock and terror. But I thought that was so creepy. So well done. Anyway, we get the cut. It cuts to the boy and the girl walking to the class, and the girl's like, "Wait, the art teacher is not really dead?" And the boy's like, "Of course not. He's just in hiding. I'll take you to him." And they go into the school where the art room is, and they go into the art room, and the boy locks the door behind her, and you know shit's about to go down, because he locked the door, and the girl's like, "Ew. Why does it smell like rotting meat in here?" And she's like, "Why did you lock the door?" And the boy's like, "Oh, I can't deny my feelings for you anymore, but I need to show you something." And he opens up the door where the teacher's head is like on this pedestal, and the guy's like, "Oh, wouldn't you agree it's such a beautiful head?" And he's just like you are so beautiful. And he takes off his mask, and apparently, like, he's been dead this whole time. it's just like his mouth is wide open, and it's the statue. Like, the statue had come to life, so the girl, like, smacks it, and his head comes off, and, like, she starts to get attacked by the statue. She ends up kicking it and destroying it, but all these other art statues, like, they come to life, and it reminds me of that one Twilight episode where, like, those mannequins come to life, where it's supposed to be really creepy, but also it was kind of cheesy at the same time, but I really liked it. Anyway, she's able to get her way out of the art room, and she runs into this other room where the two female students were, and their heads are gone too, and you have these other statues that are fighting over the girls' heads, and then they notice the girl there, and so they start to go after her, and she's like, "Stay away! Stay away!" And all the statues are arguing over her head, and like, there's this one scene where they break down a door in the room, and it ends with one of the statues reaching out to her. Like, you get this first-person view of how it would go down, and the statue's like, "Give me your head." And that's how it ends. It ends so ambiguous. It's like, did she make it out of there? It's basically implying that she was killed like everyone else. The statues took her head. But you can't help but wonder, did the statues take her head? Was she able to, like, say what's going on to others, like get out of the class, tell the police, whoever, what's going on? It would be so good if this was like a full, like, hour-and-a-half special of its own headless statue. That would be amazing. I think it's definitely number one because it's psychological, it has good horror elements, it's a great slasher mystery. It was definitely by far my favorite episode of Tales of Macabre. So, that's why it takes number one. So yeah, those are my top 5. Junji Ito Maniac, Tales of Macabre. Definitely something to look into if you love horror anime. Or you can go on to Crunchyroll. Junji Ito is on there too, though I hear that isn't as good. And you may not like it on Netflix either. But I thought it was interesting. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the video, or I'm going to leave it off. If you made it this far, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. And yeah. We'll see you next time.